Mock audition, context for Aura. My piece was from a play by Mike Bartlett, which was King Charles III, and I did a monologue that was read by Prince Harry. Now, immediately, I have to admit, I didn't put enough preparation into the monologue, especially during the day when I didn't put enough warm-up exercises in. I didn't work on my diaphragm, didn't work on support, so my voice was very underprepared for the piece itself, which admittedly, sadly, did show within the monologue. My voice wasn't grounded enough. I ended up talking a lot from here, and I needed to bring it down, as well as grounding my station within the actual piece itself. I did move around, I did frail a lot, and I meant to stay down. It's a moment where Harry is being very personal and very adult-like. He's demanding his father to help him, so he shouldn't be running about like a child. And it's something that I feel that needs to work on, especially with my voice. The voice is the most important part, especially when doing monologues. I wasn't confident enough with the lines. I didn't know them as well as I should have done. I tried to learn the lines, but admittedly I did not try hard enough or soon enough. I left it very last minute, which was silly. So that's something I need to work on next. If I'm given a task and to do a monologue and I know the deadline, learn it as soon as possible. Kate Coogan, who we've had for context lessons, believes that an actor should know their lines off by heart. Shouldn't have to think about the next line, it should just roll off the tongue, which was, again, a problem I had. I didn't know the lines well enough. I had to think about what was going to come out next. I did mess up, especially on redirection. I completely forgot the line and I had to restart. But I feel I approached that professionally. I paused, I just went, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the line. I took a moment, breathed in, found my character, and I continued, which I believe is a good thing because it shows professionalism within going wrong. After we did the audition, we received feedback from the panel, which I have right here. First point was, have gestures in the words, and that basically means don't rely on your hands to get your point across. The words are everything you need. Your point that the character needs to get across is what's being said. It's all a matter of trusting the words and allowing them to hit the audience with their feelings. Second one was, fight for your right to speak. Now, my monologue is Harry interrupting a meeting Charles and the Prime Minister of the current country are having. And that's something that I didn't really pay attention to, because having a panel, you know someone's going to be listening. At any moment, Charles could interrupt Harry and just completely deny him, say, no, go away, I'm busy. So Harry has to fight for his right to be heard. My next point was, have other characters in front of you. Now, the way I staged it was, say, you're Charles, and Jessica, the person that Harry is in a relationship with, would be facing over there. So the way I would look is I would talk to you, and if something was about Jessica, I'd look to her there. But that creates a profile. The audience don't want to see the profile, they want to see what my face looks like when I'm performing. My next one was ground yourself in your voice. Now, I've spoke about that before. My voice is something that's very up high here, especially within voice, because that's how it's been trained. My larynx are being strained to hell. So I need to ground everything more, and resonance. It all needs to come from my core, and my diaphragm needs to absolutely support my voice, which will help to show status and confidence with the monologue itself and the character. Please, Dad, if I can be allowed to speak. For reasons you don't need to understand, an intimate photo of Jessica has found its way onto the front of a London paper and will no doubt grace the Nationals as well. There's an immediate difference right there in itself. Live the thought. Don't tell a story. These words, the first time they're coming out of Harry's mouth, that was something that I slipped upon and I missed. I completely forgot. They knew I was reciting a monologue. It sounded like I was reciting a monologue. It needed to sound like these were the first time these words were ever used in one sentence, which is another problem. And that's something which I'm improving with, especially with Kate Coogan's subtext exercise. Now, Kate Coogan's subtext exercise is basically when you have two actors standing opposite each other. One actor will say their piece of text, but before they would say that line, they would say every ounce of subtext there was towards that line, and they would aim it towards the other actor. It's a fantastic exercise, and it allowed me to realise how much knowledge there was of Harry, how much of an emotional connection I actually had to him. Especially when it's a hard exercise. It took me like 4 or 5 attempts to finally get the first line correctly. The first line is, Please, Dad, if I could be allowed to speak. Now, for me, first time I heard that line or read that line or spoke that line, I just immediately thought that the subtext was going to be, please, Dad, I need your help. That's all I thought it was going to be. But then we did the exercise and I realised there was so much more, and the true subtext behind that particular one line is, I've tried everything. This is the last place I wanted to be. But everything I've done up to this moment has failed. You have a duty to help me. I'm your son. You have more of a duty to help me than you do to help the entire nation. To which would be followed by the actual line of text. Please, Dad, if I could be allowed to speak. There would be no break in between the two. They would flow. Because the subtext is what you're truly feeling. And then you say the actual text, and has so much more of a powerful meaning behind it. You just understand the feeling, the grief, and the panic Harry is feeling at that particular moment. It's such a small line, but there's so much about the character I learned. Doing that exercise, I learned more about my character within 5 minutes than I did the entire month prior to learning the lines of the monologue. Even then, yes, I didn't learn the lines properly, granted, I give you that, but I'd learnt so much in 5 minutes. I still didn't know the lines perfectly, and I thought I knew everything there was going to be about that character because I talk to the character in the third person. But doing this one subtext exercise, it was as if I was the character. I wasn't interviewing the character, I was him properly. And I understood how he was feeling. I understood the panic and the love he was feeling for this one woman, Jessica, this person who he should have no business with being with. But he wanted to, so that's all he needed. And he tried his hardest, but it failed, so he had to go to the one man he knew could help, his father, the King of England, Charles III. So it's what he had to do, and he did what he had to do. There's a lot of courage coming from Harry in that monologue, and I didn't realise until the subtext. This is now an exercise which I am making myself use every time we have a project, whether it be another simple scene, a full show, a monologue, a poem. It's something that I have to use because I've realised how vital and useful it is, especially with someone like me. Because I find learning lines hard. So if I do subtext to each individual line, before I realise, the lines are going to be in my head. It's a fantastic exercise and I highly recommend it. And it's something that I'm going to do more often. We also spoke about blocks. Now, a block is something that stops you from achieving your objective in everyday life. For me, I wrote down a list of my mental blocks, ranging from confidence issues to me actually being in drama school. And that was interesting, because me being in drama school I didn't think was a block. I thought it would be a confidence boost, and it was, granted, but it ended up being a massive block, because I had an ego. I developed a horrible ego. And I've never had an ego prior. I've always looked up to other people in my class, and I didn't like the fact that I thought, for a moment, yeah, I'm a fantastic actor. And that wasn't the case. I might be to some people, but I don't believe I am. And that's the feeling I like. I like not being the best, because that means I have something to go towards. If I was the best, I wouldn't be here. There would be no need of me being an hour. There would be no need of me needing acting training. It wouldn't make sense to waste £30,000 on something that's already perfect. So I know I'm not perfect, and that's okay not being perfect, because then it gives you a reason to actually go to Aura in the morning. I have a sense of waking up and going to be the best I can be, because I'm not. I am nowhere near the best. And if I never am, that's even better, because that means I have something to strive towards. Overall, the audition was a fantastic experience. I love having that idea of being in an audition room, being judged by people, because that's what's going to happen for a future career, especially at the beginning. So getting that experience now is massive help. I agreed with every bit of feedback I was given. I respected it fully, and I believe that is still stuff I need to work on. I didn't realise that how much my diaphragm wasn't being used when I thought it was being used perfectly. And I've realised now where I stand and where I need to go forward. You learn through failure, you don't learn through success.